That report. Joining us now, a key member of the House Intelligence Committee, Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell of California. Congressman, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me back, Wolf.
All right, so you heard the breaking news, an FBI source now telling our own Jessica Schneider that there's still grave concern about this Republican memo, that there may be editing of the text, some redactions, but it doesn't necessarily change that concern. What's your reaction to that?
They have a right to be gravely concerned. Wolf, we're in a first world democracy, and in democracies, you don't go after the police when they're investigating you. You don't sic the police on your political enemies, and that's exactly what the Trump administration, and now with the help of House Republicans, are doing. So that's a real problem. A lot of people ask, well, you know, this looks dirty, this looks wrong. What does it really mean? It's the rule of law being just absolutely pulverized by a wrecking ball. And so we must do all we can to guard it and stand up for it. I'm just really, frankly, ashamed that so many of my Republican colleagues are allowing this to happen and are looking the other way, putting their heads in the sand, or actually paddling in the same direction as the White House. I expected a lot better of them, and the American people do too.
But as you know, what the Republicans are insisting, this is the role of Congress to engage in legitimate oversight of the executive branch of the U.S. government, and when they see something that's inappropriate or wrong, it's their responsibility to report it. That's what they say they're doing right now. They saw abuses going on by the FBI.
Well, they'll be judged by history, Wolf. I have seen the evidence in real time. There is not a shred of evidence that there has been an abuse of the FISA surveillance process. However, the FBI and the Democrats are asserting that this memo puts out false assertions that would poison the well of public sentiment, that would hurt Bob Mueller's investigation and how the FBI is perceived. We actually thought, well, why don't you at least let us put out a counter memo that puts this into focus. Our memo is 10 pages. It has footnotes. It goes into great detail about what occurred, and the Republicans voted to block the American people from seeing that. You have to ask yourself, what are they afraid that the American people would see? And what the American people would see is new, unseen evidence that rebuts their points and bolsters, actually, the FBI credibility and the seriousness of this investigation.
What do you say to the Speaker, Paul Ryan, who insists that this memo, this Republican memo, doesn't implicate either the Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein or the Special Counsel Robert Mueller?
No, what this memo does is it seeks to torch every floor of the FBI building to protect the president. That's what it will do, and it's quite unfortunate that the Speaker would take that tact. We expected better of him. I can't tell you how many times I'm asked at home by Republicans who say, we thought Paul Ryan was going to be the adult to look over this Trump administration, not the person who would look the other way, and now even worse, work with the president to allow this to happen.
As you know, your colleagues, House Democrats, they're insisting that there were material changes made to the Republican memo, and not just some grammar or anything along those lines. Can you tell us what those material changes were?
Yeah, Wolf, I was briefed on what those material changes were. So just so people understand, we voted to send out to the public, and Democrats voted against it, this memo. Devin Nunes sent to the White House a different, altered memo that was not approved by the Congress. There are at least 5 material changes that we have found. They omit very important information. They cause further confusion as to what is going on. And again, we believe that this just shows that they're not honest brokers in this, that they're working with the White House to peddle this narrative that there's a taint, that there's a problem at the FBI solely to protect the president. And it's wrong, and it's time.
Yeah, I was going to say, when were those changes to the Republican memo made, before or after the vote by the committee, strictly along party lines, to release it?
The vote was on Monday, and my colleague Jim Hines asked Devin Nunes directly, are we voting on, word for word, the memo that we reviewed last week? And Devin Nunes said, yes, we are sending that content over to the White House. We have later learned, and now they've acknowledged, that that's not the memo they sent over to the White House. Again, this should tell you everything you need to know about what's going on here.
Are you concerned that the work of the House Intelligence Committee right now as a whole, not just on Russia but on other matters, could in fact be compromised by all of this, that the U.S. intelligence community, the Justice Department, the FBI, other agencies of the U.S. government may now become reluctant to share classified information with the House Intelligence Committee going forward?
Wolf, as you reported in your opening segment, we have threats from North Korea and all over the world that are not Russia-related. We just broke an agreement with the FBI that we had that we would not release sensitive materials by voting out and releasing these sensitive materials. So if we're going to conduct oversight, as Speaker Ryan is so concerned about, how are we going to expect them to come forward, the intelligence community, and give us the nation's secrets and allow us to look at whether they are violating civil liberties or acting with the Constitution if we just broke the trust with them? So the effects may not be felt today or tomorrow, but I promise you they're going to be more guarded when they come forward, because we have shown that we can't be trusted and that we're willing to do the work of the White House to protect them rather than to protect the Constitution.
Should Devin Nunes, the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, be forced off that panel?
Yesterday, yes. Yes, Wolf. When he went over to the White House on March 20, when James Comey testified to Congress to work with the White House to begin the undermining of our investigation, is when he should have been gone. I hate saying that because I enjoyed working with him in the years before this, but he never left the transition team. And what this has caused, the collateral damage, is the House Intelligence Committee is in a position where our members are not, we don't trust each other. The Democrats don't trust the Republicans anymore that they will do the right thing. And the leader is Devin Nunes. Only Speaker Ryan can remove him. And again, as we sit here today, Speaker Ryan is endorsing everything that Devin Nunes and the White House are doing.
And when you say transition team, you mean the Trump transition team. Devin Nunes, a member of Congress, he was a key member of the Trump transition, helping in the transition from the Obama administration to the Trump administration. So he was a key inside player for the then president-elect during that transition. What's your news, Congressman, what's your reaction, I should say, to the news that White House aides now are deeply concerned that the FBI director, Chris Wray, has been on the job for about 6 months. He could resign in protest if and when this memo is released, given his very, very strong words to the White House saying, don't release the memo?
That'd be a loss for the country if he resigned. I know the men and women at the FBI, they come before our committee, we see them across the country. They want to keep their head down and stay out of politics. But sometimes when such big lies are told to the American people, they can't stay quiet. And I commend him for speaking out yesterday to tell the country how disgraceful and how reckless it would be if this memo were released, one that fails to put forward the full picture. So I hope he doesn't do that, but sometimes people who would otherwise be silent so they can do their job have to speak up, and we need more people like him.
Yeah, in a statement yesterday, I want to just remind our viewers, the FBI said, as expressed during our initial review, we have grave concerns, he used the word grave concerns about material omissions of fact that fundamentally impact the memo's accuracy. That's an official public statement, rather extraordinary, from the FBI about this development. If the Republicans go ahead and release the memo, pretty extraordinary if you think about it, that he would stay on the job. He would stay on if the president simply slaps him down and releases it anyhow. I guess you agree.
I do agree, Wolf. And we need more people at the Department of Justice to start speaking up. We can defend the Department of Justice and the FBI on the House Intelligence Committee because we know the evidence. And I know it may be uncomfortable for them, but now is a time for leadership because these Republicans are willing to risk the Republic to protect the president.
Eric Swalwell, thanks so much for joining us.
Of course, my pleasure.
There's more.